And we're back with Survivor Hot Takes. It is me, Coach Drew, Emily. Emily, hi.
Hi.
Our first official show as the co-host.
I can't
And
believe what an honor.
and welcoming back Josh, who was able to come on a couple of our episodes during season 41. Josh, how have you been?
I've been great. Yeah. In sunny California. Nothing too much to complain about over here.
Is it warm over there? What's it like?
I mean, it's actually pretty cold for us. It's like 70, like 69 degrees.
70, no,
yeah.
man.
Never talk to me again.
Yeah. I think we're at -1 at this point.
I think that right now we're at 2, and I haven't seen grass in 84 years, so You're dead to me.
We're here to talk about, and not really, this is not a deep dive on Survivor Micronesia. It's more of our opinions on certain things that occurred during the season, which will probably just end up being a deep dive, but I didn't want it to be. And the reason this came about is because last year, Josh had come to me saying, oh, here's a hot take. I don't think that Eric giving the immunity necklace away was the worst move of that episode. And I was like, okay, yes, that is, you're playing with fire there. So, Josh, what made you come to this realization? What do you think is a worse move in that episode than Eric giving away the necklace? And how did you get to that point?
Okay. Well, I'll have to give my origin story. My full title is cut off here, but I would say I identify as the #1 Eric Reichenbach apologist. And my origin story with Eric Reichenbach actually goes back to Ghost Island when, thank you. There you go. You can see it now. And I was at the Ghost Island finale, and I was there with my wife. And, if you remember that finale, they walk out Eric and James onto the stage. And so I was about like 10 feet from Eric and James.
Remember they screwed up?
Yeah. Another hot take. James isn't that big in real life. He's actually kind of short. And so he's like kind of like, I mean, he's not like short, but like, not as towering as you would expect. Yeah.
Are you saying you could beat him in a fight?
Definitely. And that's exactly that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
My money's on you.
So, no, I'm sure he had like 2 layers of shirts on, if you took those off, that'd be a different story. I probably wouldn't be saying that. But anyways, so that was a few years ago. Since then I've done some pondering and recently rewatched the season, Micronesia. And I think I've come to the conclusion, which I've shared with Coach Drew, and now I'm happy to share with Emily as well, that Eric's move to famously take the necklace off and give individual immunity to Natalie is not only not the dumbest move of all time, it's not the dumbest move of the season, nor is it the dumbest move of the episode. And I think one, go watch the episode if you haven't. Episode 13, I think it's called like if it smells like a rat, give it cheese.
Yeah.
It's a Suri quote. It's great. It's a perfectly edited episode. It feels like a heist movie in those 4 women and how they are trying to get this impossible they're trying to do Mission Impossible, get something to do that's never been done before, which is to convince and manipulate this poor boy to give his necklace away.
Just turned 22.
Oh, it's like the day after his 22nd birthday, isn't it? It's like a couple days after. Oh my God.
Around all the boobs. I've never been around this many boobs in my life. It's like, I know you haven't, Eric. It's fine.
So it's
against him.
Yeah, so it's a great episode. There's no question about it. Suri is brilliant. That's not a hot take. That's probably the coldest take ever. Suri is, she is the best. But I think if you look at the episode, strip away the editing, you just look at the pieces on the board. And if you're talking about win equity, the percentage chance of somebody, moving on from the point that they're at the final 5 to where they go to the final 4, Eric's win equity obviously, goes from whatever it was to 0 because he loses. But when he makes that move, I would not argue it wouldn't go. I would argue it wouldn't go to 0, nor would I argue that it would be the lowest of the 5 of them. The lowest being Natalie. So this is what I'm talking about, Natalie. You can just hang with me. Just hang with me.
I'm hanging in there.
I'm with you.
Natalie's move to convince Eric to give her the necklace is dumber than Eric giving her the necklace. And here's what I'm saying. Look at where they're at. They are 2 fans in the midst of a group with 3 other favorites. Who are they going to beat in the end? Who can Natalie beat in the end? And who can Eric beat in the end? There is only one answer. That is each other. Their only shot from the final 5 moving on to the end of the game is to take each other to the end. However, Suri, right, implants the idea into Natalie. What if you can get Eric to give you the necklace? Now, see, here's the hard part that you have to get around is that Suri, Amanda, and Parvati, right? They wanted to vote out Natalie or Eric. So if Eric is immune, then they're going to vote Natalie. If Natalie's immune, they're going to vote Eric, right? Or if anybody really probably is immune, they vote Eric. But so I'm not saying that it's it's that easy of a move to pull off if you're Natalie. But I think if you're not willing to work with Eric in that moment to try to swing over one of the other 3, you're going to lose the next round, which is what happens. So the only option she really had was to try to convince, I think the target should have been Suri. You have to try to work together to try to pull one of them over so that you can get some sort of footing in the game, because your only option to win is to take each other. So here's another metaphor about what I'm thinking about. It really is like a Hail Mary move, at the end of a football game or something. Now, sorry, I don't know, Em, if you like football. I don't know, Coach Drew. I know you're a rugby guy, but
I understand sports.
Okay, great. I just don't
lay
know.
one on me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Eric's, his interception at the end of the game is like, he's dropping back. He's got to throw a Hail Mary, and he gets intercepted in the most embarrassing way possible, and they lose the game. Well, it's like he was already going to lose. Like, his only option at that point, if he sticks with the necklace, is to win every challenge, which is like, it's happened, but like it's extremely unlikely. The best thing he can do is to try to trust somebody that would want to work with him to the end. So what Natalie's feeding him is that, hey, I think it's Amanda that she has that'll work with them, which is why he'll give up the necklace and vote out Suri, I think. But so there's like some hope he has of moving forward. And so I just think that if you're those 2 people, Natalie, sure, she can get the necklace and move on one round, but her percentage chance of winning drops to literally 0 again, unless she wins all the challenges. So
she would sit at the end with Parvati, Suri, or Amanda, and probably lose. I'll say probably because based like rewatching Final Tribal again, and we'll get to it. Watching Amanda's performance again, it's like, oh man, maybe Natalie could potentially beat her. But
did honestly, you see Natalie's performance?
Yeah. Well, but I do. Okay, so I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, and I do think that it would have worked in her better interest to find a way to navigate and work closer with Suri to kind of break up that group of 3. Honestly, like that would be an idealistic move, right? But in reality, I think that she was kind of working with the pawns that she had, and also in this case, like with Natalie, I think that was a move that if she just made it to the final 4, okay, which she did, but if she won that immunity and it was the final 3, okay, I think that alone would have been able to at least enhance her resume to a way. Like, we already know Amanda sucks, whenever it comes to Final Tribal, but that in itself, I think that would really have bridged the divide between what she did and what Poverty did. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's what she was going for, but I think
it's what she anticipated, which I mean sucks, because it just didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I just think, and so here's my thing though. I just think I just really don't think Eric's move is that dumb. Like, he was stuck between a point where he could, he gave her the necklace and went home immediately. So it didn't work out. Like, what he did, I mean, just to be clear, was not the right move, but he was thinking 3 steps ahead. He was giving up a chance of security now for a chance to win in the end game.
But wasn't that sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say Natalie's move gives her security now, but really exchanges her win equity to actually potentially win the game. You know what I'm saying? Right. She makes it through this vote, but there wasn't any energy she was putting forth, not just in that moment at Tribal Council, but in that episode, in that round, right, where she's just dunking on Eric. She's just we got to get this. We hope he doesn't win, all that stuff. But it's really they need to band together to try to move forward.
Yeah, and like I think that was the hard thing because I think that everyone felt like they had a really really intense connection to Parv for whatever reason. I think that she like that's her biggest strength is that everyone thought that they were her number one except for Suri, you know. But I think that the biggest weakness because everything in Survivor is a risk, 100%. Like you risk maybe temporary security for maybe more longevity in the game. But my struggle with like completely agreeing with you is that with Eric it's a pattern, you know, like he's already noticed the pattern that has happened, you know, with Jason, with Ozzy, people feeling safe and secure and knowing that he's the last guy standing and how every other guy has gone at this point, you know? So like, that's the reason where I'm like, I still think that was probably one of the dumbest moves in Survivor history. Cause all he needed to win was like 1 to 2 more immunity challenges. And he already had a track record of what, 2 or 3?
He had won 3 in a row up to that point.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't think that it would have been completely impossible. I just think that it was like poor social judgment. At that point, he was just done.
Yeah. So Josh, I do agree with you that, or I do see where you're coming from, and I would say that I do agree with you as far as Natalie's probably her best option would have been to go to the end with Eric, and I think that we're all on the same page when it comes to that. Hearing your defense, but I still don't think that somehow takes over the the dumbest moment, the stupidest moment of the episode. And even if you want to look at it through like historical context of people are always going to remember this. Like, yes, sure. It's almost like if going to football analogies, the Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl from a few years ago. Everyone remembers the interception on the 1 yard line. Everyone forgot about the catch that I think Lockett or somebody had the play before that got them in that situation. And that play was just as significant as the interception. Now, it didn't pay off in the end, but I think that's how I'm looking at this one, where it's like, yes, that Natalie move probably wasn't the best for her long-term game because her long-term game had to have her and Eric sitting at the end so that she had a better chance at winning because she's going to get all the girls' votes at that point. But
if she was in, I didn't mean to cut you off. If she was in the final 3, like let's say that the final 3 was a thing this time around, right? Mm-hmm. Who would have been out of those 5 her best bet to bring with her in addition to Eric?
Amanda, but she wouldn't have brought Amanda. She would have, because she was trying to go after Amanda in the last episode.
And everyone thought that Amanda was the biggest threat.
Yeah, I mean, James tells like them at the final tribal, like, oh, Amanda's got this in the bag. So the final tribal, they thought Amanda was going to win. You know, I think Parvati, you know, does enough and Amanda does enough in the wrong direction to push them to vote Parvati. So I do think that she probably would have taken Parvati and Eric and taken her chances there.
I also think that Ozzy kind of screwed her with that whole
thing. Yeah.
I love you.
All right. Let me say one more thing, and then I know we got other hot takes to get to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me see if this other angle will convince you. So I think that Jason's and Ozzy's are dumber because they should be feeling unsafe and they should be playing their immunity idols or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of evidence to show that they shouldn't be, you know, like Ozzy's like, why would they let him get that far? You know, like he's being too trustworthy and naive. Jason, of course, the same thing of like of course you're the next like target to go, you know? But the thing that gets me is like Natalie's plan, or it's really Cerie's plan is so brilliant because Natalie should be doing what she's telling Eric she's doing. So she's like, oh, I got Amanda to work with us and the 3 of us can vote together. And it's like, if you're Eric, it's like, that is actually like what is best for your game. If you're like playing logically to win, and that would be best for my game. So he's like not trusting them with like a dumb plan of like, oh, okay, like all this, like, you know, he's thinking like, okay, Natalie actually is actually trying to win, you know, like she's actually trying to move forward with me in this plan. And it seems like she's broadening it. So it's like, he just doesn't have as good, like Ozzy and Jason have a lot better reasons to believe that the people who are telling them that crap is crap. But Eric has like very good reason to believe that what Natalie's saying is true because it really would be the best case scenario for both of them. So it just kind of feels like a mean girl move where it's like she, like she's like talking to him at this junior high dance. She goes up to him. He's like the boy in the corner, and she's like, "Oh, you want to dance?" And then they get out to the dance floor, and then they start dancing, and she's like, "Ha ha, it was just a joke." Like, and he's like, "Well, and then just like everybody, all the other mean girls are pointing at him and laughing. Well, and I just feel like, it's like, why would he have any reason to believe that she's pranking him? Like, like that's legitimately like just mean stuff. Like, it's just like unnecessary,
Oh, and that's a fun way to segue into the legend that is Natalie Bolton.
I love her.
I love Natalie too.
I would say, she's very invisible for most of the pre-merge, and then all of a sudden, it becomes the Natalie show. Like, it was the Cirie show, and Natalie is right there competing with her as far as all of a sudden she's getting 3-4 confessionals an episode where she's just saying all types of outlandish stuff that I want to hear more about what she has to say. And if you want to go back to the Jason thing, she's the one that says she's the one that manipulates it to make it seem like, hey, Jason, the reason I actually sent you there, I want you to do this in the hopes that we could do this later. And of course, Jason buys into it. And then later on during the Eric vote, yes, it's Cirie's idea, but Natalie's the one that sells it to him. She's really good with her words.
Exactly.
And she does more confessionals where it's like, wow, this woman is conniving, and I love it.
And that's the thing. Like, I go back and forth with who was the person that did the most social strategy, throughout that entire season. Because honestly, I know that part of typically a winner in every single season has one defining move, and it doesn't have to be something catastrophic. Okay. Like in Survivor, heroes versus villains, Sandra's move was honestly just reaching out to the heroes. That was her move. And that was the move that earned her the $1 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. With something like Micronesia, honestly, Par's move was something very similar. She reached out to the fans, and that in itself was something that was able to kind of bridge that gap altogether. I don't think that Amanda was the person who would have been the second most deserving in that sort of strategy. To me, it was Natalie. Natalie was the one doing all of the underground, all the dirty work, navigating from one piece to the other, really trying to make sure that everyone felt secure without being overbearing. I think that her strategy was brilliant.
I do. I do too. And I honestly think that I know that the whole thing was she was an alternate for heroes versus villains. I would have loved to see her on that. That
me too.
Because she's an amazing. She's probably. I know most people will probably say Parvati was the villain of this season. I would say Natalie.
Natalie. Only one person says they're going to floss with somebody's jugular. Yeah. So
did anything overly malicious. She was a part of the plans that Cirie and Natalie put into place, but Parvati was a part of those. She wasn't the main. And so Cirie being on the heroes tribe and Parvati being on the villains tribe, it's like, yeah, I actually get her qualms with this because she was the one that formed this alliance, but she wasn't the hitman of the alliance. Cirie and Natalie were the hitmen, and really it was Natalie that was the hitman, hitwoman. And I think, and I know that Twitter and everyone loves and wants Natalie Bolton back. I don't think that's happening. But every time I rewatch the season, it's like, wow, yeah, Natalie's, why do people like her so much again? And then it gets to this point, it's like, yeah, duh, how do you keep forgetting that she's at worst the third main character of the merge until the end?
Absolutely.
And, I love Natalie, and I'm so glad that you guys didn't I'm glad that Josh made a decent to good point about the whole Eric thing, because I thought that you guys were gonna it was gonna turn to a Natalie fight.
It was gonna be a bloodbath. I thought you were gonna diss my woman. I love her.
I love Natalie. She's one of the best characters from that season, no doubt. She should have been on the villains tribe. She could have been there instead of Danielle or something. Would have been great. I have no arguments for me. But I do think that
Danielle, it's just that villain wise, Natalie's a better villain.
Yeah. She's incredible. Some of her confessions are like, very memorable for being so sadistic,
Yeah, and she's like Boston Rob-esque, you know what I mean? Like she's very, very good at like working her words and working the people the way they need to work in order to give her what she wants at the end.
So yeah, and I think that's where I would say she's really good at that tactically, like in social like manipulation, like getting what she wants. But the problem, I just still think she's like really good at driving the car, like turning left, turning right, but she just doesn't know where to go. Like I just think that like she works herself into an unwinnable position getting there with Suri, Amanda, and Parvati, who likely won't turn on themselves and like will also like not, they're not gonna take her. So it just is like I feel like she could, if she would have applied that, like those tactics to a better overall strategy of like, let's try to really work together with the fans, or, these women that I'm working with, they're very threatening, get them out first. I think that she could have,
Now, do you think do you think that she thought that her end game was going to be like her, Parv, and Amanda maybe like going to the end? Because like my thing is like she like Parv got sent over to her tribe, like halfway through, then they all merged, right? So they didn't have time where they were separate, and she spent a lot of time with those three girls. So to me, I'm like, well, she didn't really recognize that alliance was something that was so strong. So maybe she thought her strategy was sticking with like the two that she felt closest to until the end, which would have probably been Parv and Amanda.
Yeah. I mean, no, I agree. I think that I think honestly, like so many people on that season, she was just kind of caught in the cult of personality with Parvati. It seems like I really do think that was a big part. Like, I don't know if she really I mean, she's also, again, like they're playing second time. She's playing the first time. Like they can maybe see a few moves down the road ahead of her, so that by the time she gets to the final five, she just feels like I probably won't win, but it's, I just want to go the farthest I can, or I don't really know exactly, but so I do think like on a second run, if she had been out there for Heroes versus Villains, I think she could have been like, really, really like someone to watch out for, because of the fact that she showed so much, like she showed a lot of strong ability to like manipulate and to like read people and work her way in and be liked by people. And then give some great confessionals, when no one's looking. Yeah. But I just don't know.
You don't want 4 of the 5 members of the Black Widow in the same season, so you have to cut off somebody. So you just cut off Natalie, which, I mean, of the 4 that were potential cast members, I would say that's probably the smartest idea, because everyone loves Amanda until the end. Everyone loves or hates Parvati, and everyone loves Suri. So you need to, and people, coming into Heroes vs. Villains, people might not even remember Natalie. Now, with the blessing of the internet and all these streaming services, we can go back and watch Natalie and realize, oh man, like I really wish. But at the time when it's coming out live, you're not thinking about Natalie. You're thinking about that final 3. And I get it, but I quickly want to go to a comparison. So there's been 2 legitimate fans versus favorite seasons. And for years, I've heard how horrible Caramoan is. Like, I've watched Caramoan plenty of times. How horrible Caramoan is. This, that, and the other. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Caramoan is better than Micronesia, because that's not true. Micronesia is, for me, top 5.
Me too.
What I will say is, pre-merge of both Micronesia and Caramoan are not the best, and they actually kind of drag a lot. And merge for Caramoan and Micronesia is pretty amazing. Like, Micronesia has all these blind sides back to back to back to back. Caramoan's the exact same way. Like, there are so many blind sides at the merge in Caramoan, but people will shit on Caramoan, and and they'll use the pre-merge and the Brandon thing and all of that, but they'll praise Micronesia, even though they had some of the same problems, but also some of the same successes. But people forget about the Caramoan successes. So thoughts on that as we move on.
Yeah, I like Micronesia a lot better. I think the post game one of the best, like our post-match is one of the best like series of episodes like ever. And I think that, I mean, Cara Moen gets hurt a little bit with like Eric's injury at the end. The Brenda stuff is a little weird. I'm not Team Brenda on that whole Brenda Dawn feud. I'm more pro Dawn.
That final tribal, that was the most cringy thing I think I've ever seen on television. That was cringy.
I just feel like, and so I feel like there's some of that energy that's different. While the blind sides may be there, but I do think like this is just like pure fun. Like again, like I will defend Eric's decision as not that dumb, which I don't need to get into anymore.
Yeah.
But like that is a fun episode to watch. You know, like it's hard to watch him a little bit get dunked on so hard. But like you're seeing someone get dunked on that hard, you know, like you're
and he was a good
amazing.
sport about it.
Yeah.
He was, and I think that was a big defining moment. I think that like with Cara Moen, it had a different it put like a different flavor in my mouth as opposed to Micronesia. Like Micronesia, I was like, and it was for that reason. Like every guy was a pretty good sport. Like even Jason, whenever he got fooled, he was like, man, it was really good, with the exception of like Ozzy's reaction, I guess. But like I think with Cara Moen, like there were some pieces that I think like were really good. Like wasn't this the same season? Was this the same season that Malcolm like blindsided people? He's like, we have two
it wasn't but when they pulled out their idols, like him and Reynolds.
Right. So I thought that there were pieces that were so like riveting, and we all know how obsessed I am with the winner of this season. I would die for Cochran. But oh my God, I'm in love. He's just the best person in the world.
Me and Emily can agree on that one for sure.
Yes, perfect. But I think that again, of it was like some of it was just so like gut wrenching, just in terms of like emotional kind of stuff. Like the Brenda thing was like really stressed me out. And this is the same season with Brandon's episode, right?
Yeah.
So like some of these things like kind of like it wasn't
that's what I'm saying.
fun.
Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say that Cara Moen is even in the same class as Micronesia. I'm just saying that if you really look at everything that people praise Micronesia for, Cara Moen has the same thing. And if you look at the certain stuff that they, shit on Cara Moen for, Micronesia runs into the same issue. Like pre-merge, I know we all just recently rewatched Micronesia, but if I were to ask you guys in 3 weeks, name 3 pre-merge fans on Micronesia, you probably wouldn't be able to do it. Maybe. You might.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with Cara Moen, where it's like pre-merge fans, off the top of my head, I know Shamar.
Shamar.
I know Hope.
Hope, right? There's a Hope.
And then there's
Sherry, of course.
Sherry makes the merge.
Yeah, she makes the final
pre-merge.
3.
Yeah, she makes the final 3. Yeah,
I didn't realize you said pre-merge.
Yeah, pre-merge fans. I know there were two blonde girls. Julia, the
Julia Landauer.
Yeah, the driver.
Well, she stays through the merge though, because Philip sees something special in her.
No. She swaps. She makes the merge.
I need to rewatch that season.
Honestly, it's almost like, and I know we're going off on a different tangent here, but it's almost like Game Changers, where every time I rewatch Game Changers, I hate it less because all I have to do is, okay, hey, I know this incident is going to happen at some point.
Sure.
Just kind of go with it, just sit there, take it, and move on. And I'm going to try to do that with Island of the Idols later this year, where it's like, hey, I know this happens. Let's see if this season, is actually not as bad as I make it out to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, with Cara Moen, it's like, okay, I know this situation is going to happen, but here's your boy winning, I think 3 immunities, maybe 4.
Yes, in a row.
Here's them blindsiding Corinne. Here's them blindsiding Andrea. Here's them blindsiding Brenda. Here's them getting rid of Philip, even though he is like, optically has full control over the game at this point. Here's Eric, who's come back and is going to redeem himself. And then he makes it to the same, he makes it to Final 5 again. And then
oh my God,
he
that's
goes.
so tragic.
There's a lot of good to Caramoan that I think that if people were to rewatch it, and even if they just watched both Fans versus Favorite seasons back to back, they would see some correlation. I think everyone would still say that Micronesia is better.
Definitely.
But I don't think that it would be as bad on a rewatch for certain folks if they did do Caramoan. Maybe we'll do a Caramoan episode down the line, which Josh will come back for.
I have some good news for you, I think, in that realm. Well, maybe. So you know how like before they put Micronesia onto Netflix, they had Eric as the thumbnail. Did you guys notice that? Like that was like a thing. You know, like so he was always the thumbnail, even when they had Heroes vs. Villains and Kagayan on there only.
The one challenge, right?
Yeah, he's breathing through the thing.
Never mind, I do that.
The thumbnail now is sometimes Eric doing that same thing, and then there's another thumbnail that just appeared. I took a photo of it literally right before this. They're standing on the floating things.
Yeah,
it's Caramoan. It's not. It's kind of like zoomed out, so you can't see as well, but you can tell Eric because of his hair, and you can tell Cochran because of his pale skin. Those are the two things that were like super obvious to me to make sure that it was Caramoan instantly.
So I saw that. Oh yeah, go Emily.
Yeah.
Do we think that this means that like that's going to be like the next addition to the Netflix Survivor?
I'm saying maybe. I'm saying that like they at least have like the rights to that image or something, or unless it's just a mistake.
I would say that like they've been on a good pace since they started putting episodes on Netflix. They did Heroes vs. Villains, Kagayan, David vs. Goliath, and Micronesia, which a lot of people would put.
Those are the peak four,
yeah.
Caramoan being next would be like, all right. You might want to dribble in a bad season at some point. I feel like a good dribble in bad season would be like
Don't
Nicaragua.
Even say it. Okay, I thought you were gonna say All Stars. That was gonna be the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Nicaragua, or maybe like Gabon.
Gabon was
would be a perfect season to say, hey, and this is what happens when we have a bad season. Here's Gabon, which is still fun.
Yeah.
You guys both just sat here and said there were certain things about Caramoan that like were very uncomfortable and or just like, why is this happening? At least with Gabon, off the top of my head, except for that one moment at Final Tribal, it's just a bunch of fun and a bunch of weird characters hating each other for 39 days.
Yeah.
You slowly watch Maddie like drip into insanity by the end. Like that always freaked me out.
I feel like Gabon is like good trashy TV, trashy reality TV. Like it's like the Real Housewives of Orange County, like of Survivor. Like it's just if you like that stuff, it's great. It's not like necessarily my favorite thing. I'm kind of more into the strategy and all that kind of stuff, like which is really not there. But if you like people hating each other, Gabon's great.
And I do want to do a Gabon episode as well at some point. I want to do one for everything. So yeah,
do we have to?
Gabon. I will say this because I'm a nerd, especially for Survivor. Gabon has my favorite theme song of all 41 seasons. Gabon has the best version of the theme song, except for maybe Heroes versus Villains, and except maybe All Stars. Gabon has the best. If whenever you guys get a chance, go watch. It's a list. It's a 1 minute. It's on YouTube. It's amazing.
Crank up those ancient voices.
Yeah. The Gabon version. It's amazing. But final thoughts on Micronesia. Anything that you wanted to briefly touch on before we bounce? Where does it rank for? I know Emily said it's in her top 5.
It's my number 2. I did it today.
It's my number 4. So
I don't have my list in front of me, but it's definitely top 5, if not 3 to 5 range, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's very hard to not like Micronesia because even if you're bored by it early, by the time they take out, by the time it's a stick happens, I think that's from that moment on until the end of the season. It's just, as the kids say, banger after banger until we get to Natalie Bolton hitting on Parvati at the end, and you get Ozzy being weird and probably costing Amanda $1 million, and you get Sari. I loved Sari because I watched it with a few of my students this time around, and they were confused as to why she asked the questions that she did. And it did kind of come off like she gave Parvati kind of an easier question than she did to Amanda, but it made she would ask them those questions. And you get James sitting there saying, you know, Parv, just say this, and Parv's still trying to be cute and like, oh God, all right.
Yeah. I forgot.
She tried her best, though. I honestly don't even know what James wanted from her, to be honest. Like, I think that she did exactly what he thought, what she thought he wanted to give her. You know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, James wouldn't have been happy no matter what she said.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
He's bitter. Yeah.
As the kids say, YOLO. Josh.
I think a couple things that I forgot, so I rewatched. Yeah, the Jeff moment reacting to Natalie. You brought that up, but just his face when Natalie's talking is, I think Survivor quotes or whatever on Twitter recently tweeted out his face.
I saw that. Yeah.
I literally finished rewatching the episode and I opened up Twitter and I saw that was like the first tweet, so I know that they have it there. But his face is unbelievable. Like it's an incredible moment.
Oh, like the way it's edited, it all like. What I think happened was she asked it, the jury starts laughing, and then there's like a big like commotion because all of a sudden Jeff goes, "Hey guys, like,
yeah,
right.
yeah." He's trying to keep the peace, you know, but like it looks like he's so preposterously confused by what just came out of her mouth.
And she backs it up. She backs it up. She backs up her question.
Yeah.
It was a good recovery. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But
being too optimistic. I love her too much.
The other thing I forgot about, underrated psychopath Joel. Like how I knew that guy was intense, but like I did not like. I know we talk about these people who like on Survivor, like you're talking about like people who like Brandon Hance or whatever having mental health episode, or like there's some serious bullies, racism and like some horrible stuff that happens. While Joel's stuff with Chet might not be classified as an ism, but like he's a Chet-ism, and it's hard to watch. I guess
and it is, and like I mean, like I think that like the whole his. Chet or not Chet, Jules' like whole persona, I think to me just becomes like it's like really not even just like intimidating, but it's like I would fear for Chet's life, going through that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he especially that one of the last challenges they did together. Whenever there's no way that was coincidental that they strung Jewel onto Chet, And poor Chet is like his whole face is all beat up, and he's like, I hit my head back there, and he's like, I don't care. Like,
don't care.
I know.
Void with you, Joel, and then he has the nerve to complain about his edit.
Yeah, at the finale. No, that guy. Yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that he was tied to Chet either, because I just know Joel was like, I can do this all by myself, and so Chet just I can just drag him, whatever. So like I will 100% be able to tag the people, grab their flag, whatever. Whoever's behind me, so might as well put the worst person behind me because I'm just that good. You know? Like, he's just like that full of himself. Like,
and he's so power hungry, and like you pick up on that at least like from the very start.
Mikey B, and he works with Chet in that situation. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he works with Chet to get rid of Mikey B in the situation, and then it's like, oh man, how's Chet still here? It's like, it's your fault, mofo. Like, it's you. You're the one.
You know who else? I'm not going to remember the names. You guys have to remember it for me because I'm so bad at names. But you know who I thought was such an underrated player? Okay, so
Tracy.
What? Amy. Was it Amy?
Oh, Amy too. Okay, yeah, okay. Amy was
who's the one? Who's the one that worked with Chet and then that other
Tracy?
Tracy. Yeah. Oh, I lied. I'm sorry. I messed up. Yeah.
Tracy's the one that Chet or that what's her face asked if she had fake boobs, or not even asked, just like no.
But like the way that she she was so good at manipulating Joel. I think that like if it wasn't for her, Joel probably would have worked with Mike and Mary. Was that their two names? Like to continue to
the legend of Mary.
Chat.
No, there is a very funny video that Eager Turtle put out I think earlier this year about Mary's time on Micronesia. We'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Emily, any final thoughts on the season?
Honestly, I think that we nailed them all really well. Like I think that, like I said before, like my biggest final thought is that I think that Natalie was really underrated. You know, I mean, she definitely was making these big moves, but I think that people still thought of her as a second tier character. But in my mind, she was definitely a top tier.
Yeah, everyone has said everything. I love this season. On a rewatch, I'm kind of annoyed that this isn't a season that I rewatch more. Like the seasons that I rewatch the most are usually like Cambodia, Korong, and every now and then I'll throw in Millennials vs. Gen X. Ironically, they all come in a row. But this, I'm surprised I don't rewatch this season more because it is a lot of fun, and it's not a, oh god, this episode's coming. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is the episode. Even when it's someone like Mary being voted out, there are certain things in the episode that are like, yes, I remember this. This is fun. So if you are listening or watching this and you haven't rewatched Micronesia in a while, absolutely go watch it and pay special attention to characters like Natalie Bolton. Pay attention to Alexis for some reason, because there's this whole subplot where everyone thinks that, oh man, Alexis has the biggest is the biggest jury threat. She's going to win. It's like, oh, okay, I must have. The next time I watch Micronesia, I'm going to have to just pay attention to Alexis.
Yeah.
But Emily, you were going to say something before
I really wasn't. I would think I was just gonna say, like, I think like for her, it was honestly like she had the potential to be an intellectual threat, but it wasn't something that she was able to harness in the environment she was in. You know what I mean? Like she answered some of the stuff really well in like specific tribal councils, but I think that like people were worried more about when or if she came to that final tribal, how well she would do. You know?
Yes. But thank you, Josh, for coming back.
Yeah,
and
thanks, Josh.
We will be doing it again at some point, obviously. I love having you on. Next week, stay tuned. I'm pretty sure I know what we're touching on next week, guys. Just make sure that everything is in order. So I don't know why I just said it like that, but that's what it is. Thank you for joining us here at Survivor Hot Takes. And until then, we will see you guys on the